This is the CNC Router Tips Podcast, episode 21. Just don't do it. Don't leave your machine unattended for long periods of time. Period. This is the CNC Router Tips Podcast, a show which answers one question from you, the listener, about CNC router tables, CNC software, hardware, web hosting, and business. I'll help you get started in your CNC hobby or business and help you cut through the confusion.
Today's episode is sponsored by themakersguide.com. The Maker's Guide. Useful tools for makers.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the CNC Router Tips Podcast. I'm your host, Bill Griggs, and I'm very glad that you listened to our show today. And I'm really excited about some of the things that are going on around my workshop, and I hope you're excited about the things that are going on in your workshop right now. At this time of year, everybody is really getting into the swing of woodworking because the weather is getting colder and they're inside a lot more. Also, people are going to get a lot more tools. So I expect that there's going to be a lot more CNC routers around. Now, with that in mind, folks are going to be plugging in all these new routers, and they're going to be starting to cut things that they've always been dreaming of, and it's a really fantastic time. But there's something that we really haven't discussed here on CNC Router Tips Podcast before, and this isn't specifically a question that a listener asked, but it is a question that I think needs answering, and it's a topic that needs discussion, and that topic is safety. I know what you're thinking. Oh no, another boring safety lecture. Well, I'll try not to make it that way. I just want to talk to you about the things that are of particular concern to you when you're operating a CNC router table, because, for most of us, this is new technology and we don't know what to expect, and how to be safe while operating these things. Now, I don't know if most of you have ever seen an episode of the new Yankee Workshop, but, Norm Abrams would always start out each episode talking about how important it was for you to wear your safety equipment, which included eye protection, ear protection, etc. Well, those things are just as important in the CNC workshop as they were in the new Yankee Workshop. So one of the things that I make sure that I do whenever I am going to be around the CNC router is I wear my safety glasses. Now, I've used a variety of different safety glasses from a variety of different companies, and they're all do one thing very well. They keep stuff out of my eyes. And that's important to me because my eyes are very important to me. Occasionally, I will get a product sent to me from a manufacturer to try out and see what I like. And recently, I got one from Rigid Tools. They sent me a set of safety glasses that if I could find the source of these, they're not listed in their catalog. Oh my goodness, I'd order cases of these things. This is a fantastic set of safety glasses. They wrap right around the eyes. They're very lightweight. I wish that they were commonly available, but I did look around to see if there was a similar product anywhere, and I found a couple that are close, and I'm going to put links to them in the show notes. You can get them on Amazon or whatever, and try them out and see. I'm not going to recommend any other safety glass because, frankly, if I haven't used it, I can't say whether it was good or not. I just know that these ones that I got from Rigid were very, very good, and if it was something that they were thinking to put in their regular product line, I think they ought to, because they were just fantastic. As far as ear protection goes, I have been using for the last year or so a product that I got at one of the local big box stores, and I honestly don't remember which of the stores it was. It was either at Home Depot or Lowe's. But these headphones were from Howard Light, and that's spelled Leight. And I think Honeywell produces them. Anyway, I got these headphones at the end of the season last year, and it was one of the special tools that the big box stores had brought in just for the holidays. And these things are fantastic. They're called the Sync Radio Digital Ear Protection, and they have a built-in AM/FM radio and a plug for your MP3s. And what I like to do is use the attached cord and plug in my MP3 player and listen to podcasts while I'm working or whatever. They're noise canceling, and they're really nice because they let just enough sound in to let you know what's going on in the shop, so you're not just totally isolated from, but they really are protecting your ears. I think these ones have a rating on them, and they're rated with a national standard called the NRR standard, which stands for Noise Reduction Rating. And these are rated at an NRR of 25, which is pretty good when you look at most of these products. So when you're out there looking to get a good set of ear protection, earmuffs, whatever you'd like to call them, the higher the number and the NRR rating, the more they protect your ears. And you should definitely be using some form of hearing protection, because these routers that we use give off a lot of sound in high decibel ranges, and listening to them for long periods of time, like when you're cutting a 3D project, can really hurt your ears and hurt your hearing. So you want to take the time to protect yourself from that. I put a link to that headset in the show notes as well. This isn't just going to be an episode about promoting products. I'm just telling you about the things that I use that I like. And if you see these on sale at the end of the year, scoop up a pair and give them a shot. I like a bargain as much as the next guy, but if you can't find them in the stores, then there's an Amazon link for them. So now that you've taken care of your ears and your eyes, you should take care of your nose as well. I always use a dust filter mask when I'm working, because there's a lot of dust that gets kicked up from the CNC router. Obviously, when you're cutting wood or MDF, you're getting sawdust into the ear. And it's really not good for you to breathe that in, especially long term. So, there are many things that you can do to reduce your exposure to the sawdust, because sawdust is not really great for your health. If you're getting really serious about it, you can use a respirator that's designed with filters that are designed to filter out dust and organic things. And those, are a specialty. I'm not going to give you an advice on those. I know that almost any woodworking store will sell masks, and most hardware stores will sell these little masks that look like surgical masks. And when you're going to buy them, though, you need to look on the box to see what exactly that mask is designed to filter out, because they have different masks for different things. And, if you buy the wrong mask, you're obviously not going to be filtering out what you thought you were. So you want to get one that specifically says it's for filtering out dust, because that's what we tend to work with. If you want to take it a step further, you could use a respirator, which is, a much more heavy-duty solution. And, they're designed to fit over and cover your nose and mouth. You've seen them. They look like mini gas masks almost. Those are really nice. They're not as expensive as you would think. The filters on them are replaceable after, so many hours of use. And, they're a really good investment if you're going to be doing this long term. So in line with protecting your nose against the dust, there's other things that you can do that are outside your body that'll help. And one of those things is to use, some form of dust collection system. And, that is a system that picks up the dust at the source where it's being, generated, which is near the cutter. And one of those things that you can consider getting is most of us start out with a shop vac, and you just hold the shop vac hose near the router bit as it's cutting, and that gets up some of the dust. And, it is better than nothing. But they tend not to be very effective at getting out the fine dust. And the fine dust is what actually gets into your lungs more often than the coarse stuff, because the coarse dust will settle down onto a surface and stick there. The fine dust goes up into the air and floats around, and you breathe it in. So you would consider instead using a dust collection system. And, these are special filter motors and systems that are designed specifically to pick up wood dust out of the air near your power tools. There's a lot of them out there. There are a lot of brands that make them. The one that I have is made by Delta. There are some pretty good ones from Harbor Freight, believe it or not. There are Powermatic, there's Jet, there's many Grizzly. There's so many different varieties of dust collectors out there, and you just have to find the one that suits your needs and suits your budget, because they can vary anywhere from $150 up to $3,000 to $4,000 for some of the really, really nice ones that are designed for industrial environments. And you can take it another step further by adding some form of cyclone separation system to your dust collection. Now, that's not absolutely necessary for everything, but what it does is it filters out the large dust before it gets into the filter of your dust collection system, and it drops it into a bin. There's several that you can make. In fact, there are plans for cyclone separators on the forum and also in the private Facebook group. But there are commercial products that you can use, like the Super Dust Deputy, which you can hook up in conjunction with your dust collection system, and it will filter most of the dust out into a separate bin, and only the fine dust will get into your filter. It's a very good product. I use one on my shop vac, but that's just the regular Dust Deputy. There's only about $39. The Super Dust Deputy is a lot more than that, but it's still an affordable thing when you consider your health and keeping your shop clean. There's also air filters, air filtration systems, and these are big rectangular boxes that hang from your ceiling and have a series of filters on them and a large motor that quietly moves air around your shop. So a typical air filtration system will change out the air in your shop. In other words, it'll cycle the air through your shop 25, 30 times an hour. So that gets a lot of fine particles that are floating up near the ceiling, and takes them out of the air and keeps them out of your lungs. So that's one thing to consider if you're getting really serious about this. So why is it important to keep all this dust out of the air besides keeping it out of your lungs?
Today's episode is sponsored by The Maker's Guide, creator of the Triple Edge Finder. Get the edge you need, save time and frustration on your CNC project, and make setup a snap. Save time and material. Set up your workpiece on your CNC router table faster than ever. Accurately set your Z-axis height first time, every time. Automatically locate the corner or edge of a workpiece. Reset your starting point in the middle of a program. quality crafted right here in the USA on US-made CNC machines. Get the edge you need today. Go to www.themakersguide.com/edge. The Maker's Guide. Useful tools for makers.
So why is it important to keep all this dust out of the air besides keeping it out of your lungs? And the real answer is because the dust is very flammable. If you get too high a concentration of sawdust in the air, a spark can ignite it, and it's a big flash of fire, which can be dangerous. Okay, so you try and do everything you can to keep the dust out of the air and keep your environment safe. And so, that begs the question, well, if we're talking about fire and, hazardous conditions like that, what can you do to minimize that thing? And one of the things that you can do to minimize a fire in your shop is to have a smoke detector and a fire extinguisher in the shop. Now, you can't just use a regular household smoke detector in a dusty environment. They make special smoke detectors which are designed for using in an industrial environment. They may cost a few dollars more, but when you consider, a $40 item could save your $400,000 house, it's a no-brainer. It's an easy investment. So, I suggest you put a smoke detector that's designed for dusty environments in your workshop, because it's going to pay for itself in the long run. Another way that fires can be generated in the shop, and we're dealing with wood products, so fire is a big concern. People are often leaving their machines unattended while they're cutting, because it takes a long time for some of these projects to be cut out on a CNC router, and leaving your machine unattended is a bad idea, perhaps the worst idea of anything you could do. These machines have a rapidly spinning bit that is cutting into the wood surface. Anything that spins and rubs against anything else is going to generate heat and friction. And when you combine heat and friction with a dust-filled environment, you have the potential to kindle a fire. Now, if you've ever used a downcut spiral bit to drill a hole, you may notice that you get charred marks on the hole when the bit comes out. And that's because in a down spiral bit, the dust is designed to be pushed down into the hole. It gives you a smooth cut on the top surface of your part, but the dust gets compacted and has no way of being ejected like with an up spiral bit. So it's sitting there at the bottom of the hole with a rapidly spinning bit, and it's kindling. Now, thankfully, most of these drilling operations are peck drills, and they're very short duration. But if you are not in the shop, and one of these holes that you've just drilled with your down spiral bit kindles and starts to flame, you won't be there to see it. And you combine that with the air from your dust collection system and all the dust that's in the air and everything, you could have a fire in a very quick order, and you won't see it if you're not there. If you're in the practice of leaving your machine cutting overnight while you sleep, you are doing something that is ridiculously foolish. Words can't even describe it, but I hear it all the time from beginners. It's just a little machine. It'll be fine. I'll go off and do something. You need to be there, or you need to have some monitoring system in place so that you can see what's going on in the workshop. Or you need some form of alarm system like the smoke detector I just mentioned to give you a warning. These are not toys. Just don't do it. Don't leave your machine unattended for long periods of time. Period. The last thing I want to talk to you about safety is the materials that we're cutting. You need to know what the properties are of the materials that you're cutting. Some of the materials that we use, like MDF and PVC and many others, carbon fiber, can have a negative effect on you. For instance, PVC is polyvinyl chloride. And when that PVC is heated or burned, and, we've just discussed friction and heat, it can release chlorine gas. That's not really the big concern with PVC. The other concern is once it's heated, it begins to degrade, and as it degrades, it can release phosgene gas, which is some pretty nasty stuff. So, you want to be aware of the chemical properties. MDF, which is something that we constantly use for projects, can give off formaldehyde as it's being cut. Long-term exposure to formaldehyde is bad for you. Cutting carbon fiber can release, carbon into the air, and, you really don't want to breathe that in. So, a good respirator will stop that. So, just be aware that these materials that you use can be harmful to you. The best way for you to find out information about the materials that you're using is through the MSDS sheets. I think that stands for Material Data Safety Sheets or something similar to that. Anyway, you can Google MSDS for whatever material it is that you're planning to cut, and you can read up on the properties of it. These are very detailed reports that tell you lots about them, and the typical uses for the item that you're using. Whether you can cut it, burn it, do whatever it is. Take the time to read up on what it is that you're cutting. I know this all sounds like scare tactics and everything for a lot of you. You're thinking, oh my goodness, what did I get into? But the truth of the matter is, it's important information that needs to be talked about once in a while. And, this time of year, everybody's getting new tools, and they want to go out and want to use them. And they need to be able to use them safely. And that's what this episode was all about. I'm just hoping that your newfound hobby, your newfound work, your newfound love for these machines is long-term. And, you don't do something silly and win the Darwin Award. Now, one last thought before we wrap it all up, and that is one of the best ways for you to stay safe while using your CNC router table is to talk regularly or have conversations or texting or however you connect with people with someone who's already experienced using CNC router tables. And one of the easiest and best ways to do that is through our Facebook group, the CNC Router Tips Facebook group. There are nearly 2,000 members there, many of whom have had a lot of experience with the CNC and who are gaining experience every day. And they're willing to share that information with you and to help you get started and to get you over the hump as you go into this new adventure. So I advise you to seek out people who already know how to do this, because that'll keep you safe, because they will advise you against practices that might, be dangerous to you. And they'll help and suggest other ways to, speed up things for you and get you on the right track. And the best way is through a community like our group. So there will be a link in the show notes to the Facebook group if you would like to join. There is no cost. We'd really like to have you. And I'd just like to take the moment to thank each and every one of you that I have met this past year since I started the the podcast and the Facebook group. I can't express just how important and how life-changing getting to know each and every one of you has been. And I look forward to meeting more of you in the future. So have a great time. Enjoy your new CNC routers. And send us pictures of what it is that you create. We all love seeing new and exciting things. Thank you. Don't forget to check out the show notes at CNCRoutertips.com/21. That's 21. CNCRoutertips.com/21. I often mention many different types of software during the episodes, and hardware and cutters, and it can get a little confusing. So what I did was I put together a page on my website, CNCRoutertips.com/resources. And on that page, I list all sorts of resources there, from books to tools to software, all the things that I use that make my CNC experience better and easier. And I hope you'll check it out. So again, it's CNCRoutertips.com/resources. Now, if you'd like to have your question featured on the air, here's how. Need help? Ask me about your CNC router question on my podcast, the CNC Router Tips Podcast. I'll be glad to help or try and get you the help you need. I want this podcast to be a fun and personal experience for everyone, and helpful. So let's keep it real and ask sensible questions. Please use common sense and show courtesy to everyone. That way everybody wins. Here are some guidelines to ensure that your question is qualified to be featured on the show. Please keep your questions under 1 minute in length. If it goes a little over that, that's fine, but don't ramble. If you have a website and URL, you're allowed to share it, but only once during the recording. Spammy or disrespectful or deeply private questions will not be considered for the podcast. If you need to ask more than one question, just make each question a separate voicemail. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in and listening to the CNC Router Tips podcast. If you'd like to join our free mailing list, you can go to CNCRoutertips.com, and there's a link right there on the top of the page which tells you how to do that. Thank you so much, and have a great day.